it's Mary with Happy Pine Soap. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to teach the top 10 things that I wish I had known way back when I started soaping that would have saved me a lot of trial and error. So I'm going to fill you in on the couple of years of hard-earned knowledge today and save you hopefully some money as well, since I certainly made some mistakes along the way and I wasted some money along the way as well. So if you're a brand new soaper and you would like to just kind of know how to get started, some money saving tips, what to do, what not to do, some very important safety things that I didn't learn till much later, this video will be super helpful for you. So feel free to sit down, take a load off, relax, and let's get started. Okay, the first tip is no Pyrex or glass. When I was a brand new soaper, I saw a bunch of videos on YouTube by very famous soapers that use Pyrex. And so I mistakenly thought Pyrex was safe. And so I invested in a bunch of expensive brand new Pyrex just for soap making. And what I later learned by several very helpful experienced soapers is do not use Pyrex, because essentially the lye will start etching the inside of the glass, creating little micro fractures that will shatter eventually. And some people have had extremely explosive experiences with lye solutions in Pyrex. Do not use it, very unsafe. It could shatter and literally hit you in the face with glass and lye solution. Scary, scary, very unsafe. And actually, if you look at the bottom of this one, I want to see if I can show it to you. This is one I had been using, and you can actually see micro fractures in the glass at the bottom. I want to see if I can actually have you see what happened here that the others don't have. This is one I was using for lye. So the micro fractures are right in the middle. Yeah, that line on the A, that is starting to fracture the bottom of the glass container here, and I wouldn't have noticed this or even thought to look for it. Yeah, there you go. There it is, that line there, because the others don't have this. So yeah, it will start not only to etch the inside, but we have some heat stress fractures as well in the bottom of this. So these are not safe. Eliminate them from your soaping repertoire. I will show you what you need to be using instead. And here is a still photo that I used to show you those micro fractures at the bottom of the glass. You can see them really well here in this photo. The second tip is stainless steel only. This is one of the alternatives to glass. So the second tip here is stainless steel is absolutely safe to use for lye and soap making. But you have to make sure that it is stainless steel. I've used this successfully. I've not had any problems, and it was guaranteed to be 100% stainless steel. You want to be very careful of other types of metals that might have aluminum, for example. Those can release very toxic fumes that can be very dangerous to your health. So if when in doubt, don't even use metal if you're not 100% certain it's stainless steel. You don't want to inhale toxic fumes. The third tip and my favorite containers to use are plastic, specifically with the recycling number 5. These are my absolute favorite plastic containers. I use them for everything, from mixing lye to pouring the soap and mixing the soap. And they will have that plastic PP number 5 that you see on the bottom here. I'll include a photo that shows it a little bit easier. But yeah, look at the bottom of your plastic containers. The ones with that number 5 are safe, and pretty much everything made for soaping has the number 5 on it. And so these are the there you go. These are the extremely heavy duty plastic that will withstand lye. It will withstand the soaping process, the high heat. It won't fracture. It won't give off fumes. So all of these have the number 5 at the bottom. So feel free to go ahead and get some. I got these at the dollar store, actually. You don't have to spend a lot of money. I have about 10 of these. These are my absolute favorite. I got these on some of the soaping websites, like Brambleberry has them, Wholesale Supplies has them. As long as they have that number 5, they're good to go. So yeah, these you can never have too many of, quite frankly, and they're my absolute favorite. I've gone to only using plastic. Fourth tip is Botanicals, and I have a bit of a warning about these as well. Ah, yes, Botanicals. Here they are. I got a bunch of them from Brambleberry way back in the day. And as you see, I have not used them. I have not used them at all. And you may ask, why is that? They're so beautiful. And you see all those beautiful photos of soaps with beautiful botanicals on the top. Yeah, they're nice for pictures, but that's about it. And the reason I quickly stopped using them, I tried dried lavender on some gorgeous natural lavender soap way back when I was first starting. And guess what? By the time a couple days had passed since the soap was made, it looked like mouse poop. There was mouse poop on the soap. If you didn't know any better, you would have thought a mouse had climbed up on the soap and literally pooped all over it. And after doing some research, I found out that, yep, all botanicals will turn brown in cold process soap due to the lye, and the curing process of that lye just completely makes them brown and ugly and dead. So yep, I just stopped bothering with them. They're pretty to look at, but they're not very practical in soap. Plus, stuff like this could wash down the drain, could be a problem with your pipes later on. So yep, I don't even bother with these anymore. Who knows? I'll have to find some other crafty idea to use these. My fifth tip is fragrance oils versus essential oils. Which one is better? Fragrance oils versus essential oils. This is a battle you see many people argue about quite frequently in the soaping forums or in soaping groups. Everybody has a very passionately held idea about which one they like better. I would say I do prefer fragrance oils, but essential oils have their own wonderful benefits as well. It's just kind of a matter of preference. I have found that essential oils, the fragrance tends to not stick as well in cold process soap. So a lot of times it fades a lot quicker, or sometimes you can't even smell it at all, depending on the essential oil. I've also found that they tend to be much more expensive on average than fragrance oils. And then also, in terms of knowing what percentage, each essential oil is going to have a very unique percentage that is safe or skin safe in soap. And that's a lot harder to figure out than fragrance oils, because fragrance oils have been thoroughly tested for skin safety, especially if you're using reputable websites like Brambleberry. These fragrances are very high quality and very thoroughly tested for skin safety. They're phthalate free, so they don't have any of those hormone disruptors in them. They're incredibly good in cold process soap, and the fragrance lasts a very long time, oftentimes much longer than our friend here, essential oil. And I also find it much easier to calculate how much fragrance to put in my batch because of fragrance calculators. They make it super easy. Brambleberry has their own one. So my preference typically is fragrance oils. They last longer in soap. The fragrance is much stronger. Typically, they are quite inexpensive compared to a lot of the essential oils. I know how much to put in exactly, but that doesn't mean that these don't have their use as well. You certainly, if you want to market some of your soaps for those that just want purely natural soaps, essential oils are the way to go. But if your customers adore strong fragrances and, cost-wise, your business runs on a budget, then I would say fragrance oils are better. But again, they're both, they both have their risk in terms of safety. You can also, essentially have an unsafe amount of an essential oil in a soap as well that can really bother people's skin. Just like fragrance oils, sometimes things in fragrance oils can bother people's skin. So either way, one is not necessarily 100% better than the other. They both have their pros and cons. So it's really up to you. My winner is fragrance oils. I love them. And just like you saw on the beginning slide, lavender oil on Brambleberry is $18.99 for 3.5 ounces in terms of money. And then a similar lavender fragrance oil is only $12 roughly. So there you go. That's an example of how fragrance oils can outperform essential oils. Number 6 tip has to do with discoloring fragrances, typically that make your soap brown or tan, and the benefits of neon micas. It's always helpful to have a few neon micas in your arsenal, and I will tell you why that is. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a new soaper come to the soap forums in a panic because their soap is now a very different color than what it started out as. And usually the culprit is your fragrance oil. Notice that this fragrance oil says discolors to brown in cold process. Definitely a wonderful, well-researched fragrance from Brambleberry. You want to make sure you are looking at all of your fragrance on the website, hopefully a reputable one. It will provide you all sorts of very important details from how the soap traces, to how it performs, to what color it discolors. And let me show you a little bit about what that looks like. So this is Brambleberry's website here, and this is the Coastal Rain fragrance oil. And what you want to be looking for, at least for Brambleberry ones, it'll look different obviously on a different website, is the information that's going to tell you what this fragrance oil does. Notice that it has a flash point of 200, so that means it will light on fire at 200 degrees. Obviously our soaping usually doesn't hit that high temperature, or the fragrance will evaporate off as well. And so some of these flash points, by the way, if you look at your fragrance with a low flash point, say it only has a flash point of 120 degrees, that could explain why your fragrance did not last the soaping process. In other words, it got too hot, the soaping process, and it evaporated, or the fragrance out of your soap basically, so there's none left. But this also is, it's like where it becomes flammable as well. This one has the vanilla content is what you really want to be paying attention to. This just has a very small amount, and so it will discolor it to just a light yellow. Now, the one I just showed you, it discolors to dark brown. And then this Coastal Rain also, it behaves very well in cold process. So essentially that's going to tell you it's not going to accelerate, it's not going to rise, it's going to behave itself. And so of course the scent family is Oceanic, and it tells you the shelf life as well. So Brambleberry is really great at telling you fabulous information on your fragrance oils. By the way, phthalate free. That's what a lot of soapers pay attention to these days. They don't want any fragrances with phthalates in them. That's bad for the skin, bad for our health. And so that essentially in a nutshell. Oh, by the way, Brambleberry also gives you a picture of the soap to tell you what color it will turn when it's cured. I find that super helpful for gauging what type of mica I'm going to be using, or what type of colors that the soap will hold up to. So in this case, this one, you could use pretty much any of your standard colors. Let's check out a brown one though. All right, here's the cinnamon cocoa fragrance. Notice that this one, the picture of the finished soap actually is brown. That's correct. Now, when you first pour it, it's not brown. So if you didn't know that this fragrance turned brown, you can be very poorly surprised here and horrified that your beautiful design that you worked so hard on is now disappearing into a brown soap. So yes, that can happen. So that's why, again, you want to go and check this out. It's going to tell you that it discolors to brown. There you go. All right, and this one also behaves well in cold process soap. So these are the information I really am paying attention to, is its behavior. Does it accelerate? And then does it discolor? So every time I plan a soap recipe with a fragrance, I'm looking at these very important pieces of information here to plan my design. Now, neon micas. Okay, guess what? Neons are one of the few micas that can withstand brown discoloration and still show up in soap. Mad Micas is a fabulous, reputable supplier of very safe, ethically sourced micas. And these are just a few of their neons. Pretty Kitty is actually what I used in this soap here. You can see it's not quite the same color as Pretty Kitty. However, it maintained a pinkish color. This has strawberry puree in it, and any of the purees will also discolor soap to a brown. But this is a few weeks later, and it's held up very, very well. And that is because neon micas. They will stay true and fight and counteract that brown discoloration. Here are a couple of my soaps that had brown fragrances. This is titanium dioxide, and you see a little red and green. Those were separate batches that I used with no fragrance whatsoever when I did this swirl. So that's why they kept their colors. They don't actually have the fragrance in them. If they had, they would have turned just as brown as the rest of the soap. And then here's another. I think this actually is the cinnamon cocoa here, this fragrance here. And that did not start out brown, but it sure as heck is brown now. So yeah, neons are going to be the way to go if you want to fight discoloration in soaps with fragrances that turn brown or tan. The 7th tip I wish I had known sooner is soaping sleeves. Soaping sleeves are so fabulous for protecting your arms and your skin from any type of lye splashes or soap splashes, which definitely happens during soaping. These are very inexpensive and easy to get on Amazon. They're basically gardening sleeves. So if you just type in gardening sleeves into Google or on Amazon, you will find many different varieties of these. They're very lightweight. And it's kind of like a spandex stretchy material, as you can see. And they're very comfortable to wear. They stay up perfectly with these little grippies, so they don't slide down at all. And they have saved my skin a number of times from little droplets or splashes. The next tip is beveling. Specifically, what type of tool is the best for beveling your soaps? I have 2 beveling tools here for your perusal. The first is a very expensive, very heavy-duty stainless steel beveler from Lilu Soap Tools. This, basically, you run the soap along this, and it will perfectly bevel it every single time. And then the next is this simple little vegetable peeler, which I got from IKEA. Also actually very heavy-duty, stainless steel. And I have to say, guess who I prefer? The simple, inexpensive stainless steel vegetable cutter. This just is so easy. It's literally, I can bevel the soaps much sooner. What I have found with this guy here is your soap has to be rock hard. Otherwise, it will not be able to bevel the corners smoothly. And then what I also notice is that as you drag the soap along, it will essentially leave soap gunk on the stainless steel, and you find yourself having to wipe the surface with paper towels frequently, just so that the next soap will slide easily. So this was very expensive, and quite frankly, this does just as good of a job, and in actually less time, considering I don't have to stop every few times and clean the stainless steel off. So this would probably work best with soaps that have cured for months and are rock hard. But this is going to be your greatest tool to bevel soaps that are fresher, that are still hard, but maybe not several months hard. And quite frankly, it's inexpensive. So if you're a beginning soaper, don't worry about expensive tools like this. You can always invest in them later. This is going to be your friend. The next tip is going to be the digital or infrared thermometer. Is it worth to invest in one of these guys? So just as I told you in the prior section, don't worry about the expensive bevelers. This, however, is worth every penny I paid for it. I love this thing. This is my absolute favorite tool. It literally will give you a temperature of any type of surface or liquid in seconds. Well, heck, practically less than that, I would say. And highly accurate. And just so simple and so easy. When you are soaping, you're going to find that you are constantly having to measure your oils, your lye, checking to make sure they're at the correct temperature for whatever recipe you're making. And before, when I was using kind of the beginning thermometers, I would have to sit there for like a minute, waiting for the temperature to go up. Oh no, this is worth every single penny. If you're going to invest in a nice soap tool, get one of these suckers. I think I got this on Amazon. And the 10th and final tip is soap calc, my absolute favorite soaping friend. Here is soap calc. At first, this looks really intimidating with new soapers, and so they avoid soap calculators like the plague. They just go ahead and use other people's recipes. But let me tell you, this will be your best friend. You will want to learn how to do this. I have videos, in fact, tutorials that I've listed in the description that guide you step by step on how to use soap calc and make recipes with soap calc. You will want to learn this because other people's recipes, they're fine to get used to soaping and try it out, but you will want to be making your own soap. That's how you really tweak things and experiment and learn the properties of different things. By the way, you can get rid of these ads. They're super annoying, I know, but hey, this is free, so we can't complain too much, I usually just click all those little arrows there to get rid of those worst of the ads. But this is actually not that hard to use. And again, I adore making my own recipes now. It is one of the most fun things to experiment, to see how different oils perform, what different oils feel like in soaps, to experiment with water discounts and how that affects trace, or that affects things like soda ash. All of this is going to be so helpful, and it's also going to allow you to super fat your soaps, to bring down some of the stripping qualities of, say, coconut oil. So again, I have tutorials that will teach you step by step how to use this soap calculator so that you can begin to learn how to make your own recipes as well. It is well worth it. My absolute favorite soaping tool. It is so much fun to play around and make new recipes. And also, when you have certain oils that you're just like, you know what, I only have these 3 oils, or I only have these 5 oils, can I make soap with it? Yep, you can. And here you go. This is how you do that. So definitely get to know and be friends with Soap Calc. So there you go. Those are my top 10 tips. I really hope you found them helpful. If you did, feel free to drop comments below. I always appreciate your feedback. If you have any other questions, happy to try and answer them. Feel free to drop them below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. That supports my channel's growth. And I appreciate all of you. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next soapy tutorial. Take care, everyone.